Chapter 11. I had been working out the beats of our match with Jericho Blaze. He wanted us to go at it hard. Harder than he had done in a number of years. Harder than I would have been used to pre-injury. My contract was up for renewal, so I needed a bargaining chip going into negotiations with Frank. Some genuine heat with Jericho, and Wyatt would give me that chip. The idea was that our match would be so epic that when Wyatt and the pincers came to the ring to deliver me a beat down, there would be an angle there, that after everything we had gone through, their assault of me was somehow disrespectful. This would allow Jericho to break ranks with them, switch back to being a face, and give everyone involved some extra heat. With this achieved, the in-ring dynamic switched from a 4-on-1 to a 3-on-2, which was when he suggested Marty run in. It made sense. Marty had beef with Wyatt, but I didn't want him anywhere near this. "This is our thing. I don't want him involved," I said. "Marty loves the idea," Jericho countered. "He would. It lets him feed off other people's work. Fuck that guy. Get someone else. Get the Berlin Bruiser." Bruiser didn't work as well, but it threw in another twist. Bruiser was Wyatt's boy. It wasn't as right as it would have been if it had been Marty, but he'd been nothing but an asshole to me since I'd broken my neck, and I wasn't willing to give him so much as a red cent if I didn't have to. Afterwards, I let the Bruiser know he was going to be part of our work, which he was thrilled with. Jericho broke it off with Marty in the room next to the locker room. The entire roster heard his reaction. We could feel the rage through the tiled wall, and we could hear the absolute control Jericho put on the situation. I smiled long enough for the boys to see it. Fuck that guy. Bill Tucker rang the bell and got the match underway. Jericho and I circled each other before tying up in the center of the ring. He called the first few moves. I whipped him off the ropes, then went to smash him with an elbow, which he ducked under. He sprang off the ropes on the opposite side of the ring and came right towards me. I leapfrogged him. By the time I'd landed, he'd sprung off the canvas and hit me with a high crossbody. It took me down to the ground, and I rolled it into an inside cradle for a 2 count. He sprang back to his feet and hit me with a spear, which took me into the turnbuckle. He threw everything into his display, hurling a barrage of punches my way. After a few dozen shots, I blocked one, grabbed him by the head, and spun us both around so Jericho was in the corner. I spat in my hand and hit him with some knife-edge chops across the chest. 6 chops, and his chest was beaming red and angry. I leant back and lined up one more. Jericho took it on the chest and sold. It was strong enough to lift him off the mat, taking him up and over the ropes onto the canvas outside the ring. I rushed to the other side of the ring, bounced off the ropes to pick up speed, and back towards the one-time cowboy, Jericho Blaze. At the last moment, I dove over the top rope, managing a 3/4 twist before I came down on top of him. He caught me like one of his kids and guided us both to the safety of the arena's floor. I got back to my feet first and called the next few shots as I grabbed a handful of hair and yanked Jericho upright. Lifting him into the air, I tossed him at the steel barrier separating us from the crowd. I went to retrieve him. He popped me in the gut, ran a clawed hand across my eyes, forcing me to blindly stagger back towards the ring. Bill was up to a 5 count. I rolled in and out of the ring to break it, then went under the ring and pulled out a steel chair. As I came back up, Jericho was there and hit me with the most athletic dropkick you ever did see. I threw myself backwards into the ring post and stairs before rolling around, not knowing whether to clutch my face or back first. I looked up in time to see the chair come at me. I braced for impact. Jericho caught the right amount of me and steel stepped for the sound to ring out across the St. Louis arena. The crowd were baying for blood. He rolled me back into the ring before climbing to the top rope. He leapt legs first towards me. I caught him and rolled forward as he pulled back to land a top rope hurricane rana, which a lot of the boys called Mexican head scissors back then. He went for the pin. 1, 2. My legs shot out and rested on the bottom rope. The ref broke the count. I grabbed hold of the middle rope and wrestled my way back to my feet. Jericho was coming at me, full steam off the ropes. I dropped to the mat, taking the ropes with me, and sent Jericho over the top for a hard landing on the outside. I drew down gallons of air into my lungs before going off the ropes and into a baseball slide under the bottom rope to plant the soft sole of my boot into his face. He was down, dazed. I grabbed hold of Jericho's legs, tucked them under my armpits, and pointed my back towards the ring post, then slingshotted him straight into it. Jericho had taped a sliver of metal into his wrist tape for this moment. As he hit the post, he brought his hand up and made sure metal met metal. He staggered back my way after the thud. I lifted him up into the air and charged toward the post, aiming his crotch at the ring's steel corner. As I stepped away and left him clutched to the post, a front row fan spat a cheekful of gunk my way. They caught me right in the eye. This wasn't part of the work, but my blood was up and the disrespect pissed me off. I grabbed 200 pounds of Missouri Virgin by his shirt collar and heaved him over the guardrail. Gripping him by the seat of his pants, I tossed him into the ring. I went in after him and made a big deal about frightening him into the corner. Jericho locked his arms around me, and we went into a German suplex. I stayed down. I didn't need to deal with this guy. I knew Jericho had it covered. Through my fingers, I watched as Jericho slapped him round the face before he put a thunderous wedgie on him and tossed him from the ring. I'd grabbed hold of the steel chair and worked myself back onto my feet. Jericho turned to face me, and I tattooed the heck out of his forehead with the seat of the folded chair. He went straight to the mat, his head wide open and pouring crimson the hard way. Had I been 100%, I would have never messed that hit. But I wasn't 100%. I was rusty. I was distracted, thinking about my contract and the fact I felt like the full moon was expected. Hell, 5,000 people were waiting on it, counting on it. I knelt down and grabbed Jericho by the hair. "Shit, I'm sorry." "Give me my receipt," I said. "Not now, brother. It'll come," he replied. We took the fight to all 4 corners of the ring. We worked the mats in front of the crowd, the announce table. Shit, we even worked the medic station with Jericho pulling out the defibrillator and shocking my nuts. I hit him with 3 backbreakers before going to the top rope. It was now or never. The entire arena was howling. I went to howl, but couldn't. My arms refused to cup themselves in front of my mouth. The fear hit my knees, and it was everything I had not to fall from the turnbuckle. Jericho saw it painted across my face. Upside down and through a river of blood, he saw it and came to my rescue. He sprang to his feet and ran up the turnbuckles. I held him in place, and he called it superplex from the top rope. He flung my arm around his neck, grabbed a fistful of my shorts, and I leapt into his arms, into the St. Louis air, into freedom from my own cowardice. I hung upside down for what felt like a lifetime before he pushed backwards, and we both flew across the ring, eventually coming down with a smack in the center of the mat. The sprung canvas returned us to the air ever so slightly. The microphone under the ring sounded out an explosion of bone and cartilage. I reached my hand out and grabbed hold of the defibrillator. I gave myself a fake shock and sprang to my feet. It was Wile E. Coyote on an Acme rocket. I needed to do this. Before I could talk myself out of it, I went back to the top rope. I let out a howl, then flew through the air. I landed the headbutt, and after a moment, where I scanned my body for injury, I wrapped Jericho up for the 3 count. 1, 2, 3. Ding, ding, ding. The rest of the bit was set in motion. Wyatt and the Pincer brothers came to the ring and put a beat down on me like you wouldn't believe. Jericho finally came to, got to his feet, and pushed them off me. He grabbed a mic to play to the back row. "No, you do not do that. This man put his body in front of a locomotive today. You think you could do what he did? What I did?" Wyatt clocked Jericho across the face, with the GCW title covering it in blood. It made for a great image for the color section of the Japanese trade magazines. As he turned his jackals on Jericho, I threw one eye to the entrance. The curtain was pulled back, and out he came. Motherfucking Marvellous Marty Monroe. I continued to play beaten, but inside the rage was growing. Marty dove under the bottom rope, sliding 10 feet into the ring. He leapt to his feet and hit Larry Pincer so goddamn hard he went right over the top rope. Luke charged at him and right into DDT country. Wyatt put his hands up, begging for mercy. The fans would have tore this place apart if we kept cranking this cog. Marty edged towards Wyatt. He threw the title at Marty, dropped to the mat, and rolled out of dodge. "Boo! You fucking suck, Sullivan, you goddamn pussy." He worked the crowd for every inch between the ring and backstage. The crowd were whooping and cheering Marty, which was getting under my skin. I got to my feet. Jericho staggered to his too, still bleeding from the crack I left on him. Marty took his hand and raised it in the air, victorious. He walked towards me, and with every inch my anger boiled. Marty made a move to take my hand. I pulled away from him. He looked at me, then the crowd. It was clear what he was saying, but I didn't care. I wanted Bruiser out here, specifically, to avoid this situation. He didn't give a rat's piss for what I wanted. When he made a move for my hand again, I balled up my fist and drove the most perfect right hook into his face. For real. One punch, and Marty's lights went out, taking any chance of a new contract with him.